Hey, welcome to the Publish, Promote, Profit podcast with me, Rob Kosberg. Every week, I interview thought leaders and experts who have used a book to grow their income and their impact. So tune in weekly for these interviews so you can learn how to use your own best-selling book and go from hunting for clients and opportunities to instead being the hunted. All right. Hey, welcome, everybody. Rob Kosberg here with another episode of the Publish, Promote, Profit podcast. Have a great guest for you today, Mr. Ted Prodromou. Ted is the author of several books, and as I've learned, good friends in common and quite a few commonalities that we'll perhaps speak about. But Ted is America's leading LinkedIn coach, which if you're not using LinkedIn and you're in business, holy cow, what are you doing? Ted is an award-winning best-selling author of The Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn for Business and The Ultimate Guide to Twitter for Business. Both of those are Entrepreneur Press books. Ted is a social selling and online advertising expert and the founder of Search Marketing Simplified, SMS, a full-service social media marketing firm, which is great. You've been featured in Entrepreneur, New York Times, CNBC, Forbes, and your SMS team has been responsible for 100 million plus in revenue generated for your clients. So that is a big deal. And anybody that's generated that kind of revenue for somebody, that's who I want to talk to. So Ted, welcome. Thank you for taking some time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I think it's going to be fun. I want to learn. I always share there are kind of two paths that we'd like to take on Publish, Promote, Profit. One is kind of standard, and that is I want to talk in the beginning. I want you to tell me about your book, about, the writing of your book, any stories behind that, and details about your book that, maybe you want to share a little bit about LinkedIn and whatnot. But then I want to change gears just a bit, and I want to hear about what your book has done for you, because people that are listening to the podcast are people that are either in the throes of writing, interested in writing, or struggling with writing, and usually all the above, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Been there, done that.
Yeah, right, as have I. So let's start with that. I mean, tell me about the writing of your first book, which I believe was the LinkedIn book. And, there are some commonalities with the person that wrote your foreword. And so I'd love to hear about the story there and how it all got started.
Yeah, it's just a crazy story, to be honest.
They usually are.
Yeah. Well, years ago, after the dot-com crash, my tech career blew up. And I was with a lot of people. I worked for Cellular One when they had 40 employees.
Wow.
Within 5 years, I had 75 employees reporting to me. And they used to bring in coaches back in the 80s and 90s before they were called coaches. I want to be a coach someday. I love what they're doing up there. So after the dot-com crash, I got certified as a coach.
Nice.
And I knew nothing about marketing. I quickly realized I knew nothing about marketing and sales. So I started going to Dan Kennedy conferences. I met our friend, Perry Marshall.
There it is. It all starts with Dan.
Right, exactly. And then Perry's given this, it's a Sunday morning, first session. He's teaching Google AdWords back when it was just starting out. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. So I bought Perry's ebook for $97,
Right.
Became part of Planet Perry way back in 2004 or so. And that's what led me to the book deal, which is really crazy because Perry wrote Ultimate Guide to Facebook Ads, Ultimate Guide to Google AdWords. He's written the best top-selling books for Entrepreneur Press.
Yeah, I love that. Perry has done an incredible job. And so you have a connection there, but you were supposed to write the book together, you mentioned. What happened?
Yeah. So what happened is I went actually, after 2008, my career collapsed again. My agency, I work with small businesses. So I actually got a real job at 52 years old as an online marketing manager. So I'm working full-time, still doing the Planet Perry stuff on the side. And I get a call from this guy. He goes, I'm Perry Marshall's agent. Would you like to co-author 2 books with him?
What?
Yeah. I go, Perry Marshall as an agent? That was my first thought. And he said, yeah, they need Ultimate Guide to Twitter for Business and Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn for Business. Do you want to write them with them? And then he tells me, I can give you an advance too. I'm thinking, I'm just kind of snickering saying, I've never written a book. You're going to give me an advance. What am I going to do? At the time I was working full time. My mother was very sick. She was actually about ready to pass away. And then I get 2 book deals and they want a deadline like in 3 months for 2 books.
Oh my
gosh. I'm thinking, I can't do that. And then also I'm thinking, I've never written a book. What do I do? So, we pushed out the deadlines and stuff. It all worked out. And, Perry said, I don't even have a LinkedIn account, so you need to write that book. I'll write the foreword. And I don't like Twitter. I don't really get any value of it, and I'm too busy. You just write that book. So I got 2 book deals by investing in mentorship with people. So, if you ever hesitate about investing in mentoring, it opens a lot of doors.
It really does. It really does. I've been in a number of masterminds. I've never been in Perry's Roundtable, and Perry's a friend of the show. We had him on not too long ago. I've never been in his roundtable, though I have been a part of his Renaissance group for a long time, as we were talking about. But, from Russell Brunson to Kevin Nations and so many others in between, the things I've learned and, as they say, the places I've been because of those masterminds has made a tremendous difference in my life. And so tell us about your business. You obviously wrote the book on LinkedIn. You wrote the book on Twitter, and you've since updated those. I mean, you have multiple revisions of those books. I think the last one I saw was as recent as 2019 or even last year, maybe.
2019 it came out, yeah.
Awesome. And so what is your business? I know SMS marketing, your team there. Who do you help? How do you help them? And how does that relate to what you wrote and your books?
So what's really interesting, I remember Google Alerts?
Oh, yeah.
So when my book came out in 2019, I get a call from a PR agency, and some senior vice president at LinkedIn's got a Google alert about me writing about LinkedIn and Sales Navigator.
Wow.
So this PR firm, so would you like to be introduced to LinkedIn? Would you like to go to their headquarters and meet with this guy from a Google alert?
How awesome.
So that opened up incredible doors. So now they give me early access to their releases, and I write about them for them. So that's one thing the books have done for me.
That's beautiful. And that was just happenstance because you wrote the book.
Right.
Fantastic.
And remember in my bio, I was in the New York Times, the CNBC documentary.
Yeah.
They found me on entrepreneur.com. They take excerpts from your book and write articles. So I have lots of articles on entrepreneur.com. So one day, this New York Times reporter calls me up out of the blue. And they said, hey, would you like to contribute to an article writing about LinkedIn and finding a job? Oh, sure. I would like that opportunity. So I'm in the New York Times because of that.
Beautiful.
And then this producer from CNBC calls me one day. He says, hey, we're doing a documentary on Twitter advertising. Can we talk to you about that for this documentary? So we talked for like an hour and a half. Then I didn't hear anything about it. Then about 2 months later, there's this documentary about Twitter when it was first starting up on CNBC. And Carl Quintanilla was the moderator. And he's like speaking everything I said to this reporter, word for word. Writing a book and get it out there opens up so many opportunities.
That is beautiful. So let's go back for just a second. You wrote these books while you were still working at JOB.
Yeah.
And obviously something happened either with those books or as a product of the book or before the book, but you left the job and you went into business for yourself and more in the marketing and agency side. So talk about that for a minute. What did that transition look like?
That's when I was actually joined Perry's Roundtable for the first time. And I was still working the first month in January, the one that you just spoke at, his January meeting. I said, okay, I'm creating my exit plan for this company and I'm going to go 2 more months and then I'm going to, move on. And so we came up with a plan for my new business in Perry's Roundtable.
Nice.
And then as that was happening, my mother actually passed away. And then that company ended up laying me off. We got quadrupled their revenue from 2009 through 2013.
Wow.
And I was the only one in the company that did online marketing and SEO for the company. They got this big venture capital investment because they're doing so well. And they brought in this new boss, and he sits down and he shows me this org chart with like 75 people in marketing. And there's only 8 of us at the time. I'm like, wow, this is a huge department you're going to build. He goes, unfortunately, there's no room for you in this org chart.
That's incredible.
So they ended up laying off the whole marketing department, brought in their own agency, the venture capital firm.
Right.
So that was a blessing because I got a severance pay to help me launch my new business.
And that was right around the time you were planning on leaving anyway.
Right. It's like the universe answered my prayers.
I love it.
You just can't make this stuff up,
No. And where did that fit in to the actual launch of the books? Like, was that before? Was that after? Was that around the same time?
Right at the same time.
No kidding.
Timing was just everything aligned perfectly.
Very cool. Very cool. Then shift gears. You shared some of what the book did accidentally. Because of your book, they found you for a New York Times article. They found you to be introduced to the executive team at LinkedIn. But let's talk dollars. What has it meant to your business? Like, do your books drive leads? How do they drive leads? And what does that look like on a regular basis?
There's nothing better than handing someone a book. It's like the best business card in the world, especially with a major publisher.
Yeah.
I remember when the first books came out, Entrepreneur in the magazine, they put a stack of all the ultimate guide books. There's Dan Kennedy, Perry Marshall, all these big names like that. And then there's my book on top of the stack.
No kidding. They put you on top. Nice.
It was like best PR ever.
That's great.
So I'm associated with all these famous authors and marketers. So anytime he's like finds that, it's like instant credibility. It opens up speaking opportunities. So I'm not speaking on the road anymore right now, but I was on 64 podcasts and interviews like this from last March until December.
No kidding.
And I did no reaching out to anybody.
And so for your agency, which is your primary business, you run traffic for others? Is that what you do?
I don't even do that anymore. I gave up trying to keep up with Facebook ads and Google ads. At my online job, we were spending $50,000 a week on Google ads to promote this marketing software.
Right.
Content management software. So I don't even bother to keep that. I have so many friends from the Planet Perry world. I just say, hey, you need Facebook ads, go to this guy. We have referral partners. We refer business back and forth.
Right. And
so I focus 100% on LinkedIn now.
So you focus on LinkedIn, and it's not so much on the LinkedIn advertising part, is it? Or is it both the advertising and kind of the organic outreach part?
No, LinkedIn ads are really for enterprise level.
Yeah.
You have to have products that are 15 to 20K or higher,
right,
to make them worthwhile. It's a whole different animal. So I just really teach small business owners and coaches, consultants, and I do a lot of sales navigator training for sales teams and teach them how to use LinkedIn.
Nice.
Like that's what the senior vice president at LinkedIn, when I met with him, goes, you make a living teaching LinkedIn? How? Why? Why would people want to learn how to use LinkedIn? I think because people don't know what to do. Yeah. Literally.
So I'll tell you a little bit about my LinkedIn experience. What we do at Bestseller Publishing for the most part is with paid traffic. So Facebook, Instagram, even Google AdWords, and more YouTube. But right. I know my ideal clients are all over LinkedIn. And honestly, this may sound terrible, I want to book my sales team. I don't want to book myself for these conversations and calls, right? Because it's not that I'm too good for that. It's just that I'm busy with higher level stuff and creating content for my business and so on and so forth. And so to do the initial sales calls is not what I do anymore. And so what we've done is we've built an organic kind of outreach campaign. And you tell me where we're going right, where we're going wrong. But we've built, this is all in the last 4 months, but we've built an organic outreach campaign, and we're doing about $25,000 a month in sales, all organic, not spending a dime on advertising at all on LinkedIn. And I think we can ramp it up from there, to be honest, because I have multiple sales guys, and we're just using my profile right now and sending calls for my sales team from my profile. And so I'm like, this is fantastic. We're actually making sales without spending money on ads. How great.
Right.
So tell me more about what that looks like for you. Like, how do you help people? I mean, obviously what I said was like, I don't know what I'm doing. We're just trying to figure it out. But how do you help people to really get into the weeds themselves and do this?
Well, the one thing, when my books come out, I use Facebook ads, and I have Perry's funnel. He shared with me exactly what to do. Yeah. So that sells the books, gets people on my email list. And then reaching out to people on LinkedIn. As you know, you're probably getting 50 messages a day now. Hi, I'm Ted. Need help with LinkedIn? They send me probably 5 messages a day. Do you need help with LinkedIn, Ted?
They didn't even look at your profile, obviously.
No, they use automated software, and they just look for keywords or job titles and blast away. And LinkedIn's very concerned about that because everybody's complaining. We're getting spammed to death.
Yeah.
So they're starting to do a lot of things behind the scenes. They're kind of starting to throttle some content because there's so much garbage being posted. And their messages, they're testing features where I could report you as a spammer, basically like email. Ooh. If you get enough complaints, they'll block you. So they're testing all that now. But I try to start conversations with people. Like we're having a conversation right now. We're 2 people, one-to-one conversations. So you don't use those templated messages to people. Actually look at their profile, look at their website, and tell them why you want to reach out. I don't even reach out and connect with people anymore. I let people find my content and connect with me. I'm the slow and steady. I'm like the tortoise and the hare. You got the people that are the blasting messages trying to get us deal. That's robocalling or cold calling.
Right.
And it hurts your brand. People don't realize, like, oh yeah, I sent 3,000 messages yesterday on LinkedIn. That's what you used to be able to do, but not anymore.
Yeah.
You can send like 50 safely. So just treat it like we're meeting at Starbucks, having a cup of coffee, having a normal conversation.
Yeah.
And you build relationships with people that way, and you get real long-term customers and referrals.
Love it. Are you doing that actively for your business, or at this point, because of all the content that you do, people are just coming to you?
People are coming to me, but now I'm working with my assistant, and we're training some people to do like what they do for you, like what your staff's doing with your profile.
That's great. So is that going to be part of what your agency does?
Yeah. So we help you write real messages, not templated, sales pitches. I get so many invitations to connect where they're already pitching me in the invitation.
Yeah.
If you're pitching me already, and then they get the ones, they'll send 5 messages in a row. You can tell it's automated because, hey, did you get my last message? Hey, are you still there? Yeah. It's like, no, that's not the way to build a real business.
So if you're training people to do that, these have to be higher level people that are doing it, because, I had a conversation yesterday with a doctor on LinkedIn, and I'm not doing most of these conversations myself, but this one caught my eye because I go on and I check it out. And, he very prestigious, Stanford Medical School, all of these TV appearances. And he reached out, wanted to have a conversation with me. And I responded. I said, hey, I was on your profile, obviously super prestigious, Stanford Medical School, all of this media. I said, the one thing I don't see is I don't see a book. And I said, is that something that you're looking for that maybe you feel like you're missing? And that to me is a regular conversation, right? Obviously, it's a little forward, but he did reach out to me. So,
yeah,
that's the assumption. But is that the stuff that you're actually training people to do? Because that's super valuable.
Yeah, it's simple. Don't pitch them. Just kind of start a conversation and drop that little thing at the end. Like, hey, if you're interested, I don't see a book on your profile.
Yeah.
What's your headline say for your professional headline under your name?
I can't remember exactly, but I had it professionally written. So it's like, America's leading authority on using books to grow your business or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
A benefit related statement.
Yeah. It's all the Dan Kennedy direct response, focusing on.
And that's my approach to LinkedIn profiles is Dan Kennedy sales letter, essentially.
Yeah.
So the headline is like a headline of an article or a sales letter or an email subject line.
Yeah.
Get them to stop scrolling. And then your about section is like, you talk about the problem, then you paint that picture of what life could be if you had a book. You were a doctor with a book. Then you kind of talk about, I had the same problem. You talk about your failure. Like my business collapsed 3 times in 18 years. Then I finally figured it out.
Right.
The light came on and then I said, here's how I can help you at the end.
Nice.
I use that format. And as people skim through, they say, oh, Ted can help me with LinkedIn marketing or whatever. He's got credibility. So whenever you send those messages, your headline, professional headline, is showing up right under your name.
Right. So
that's
I know immediately what this is about.
Exactly. This is how Ted can help me.
Love it.
And people just don't, they have their job title, CEO of whatever.
Yeah.
Boring. 99% of people don't change it.
Yeah, who cares? CEO of what?
I've been brainwashed by Dan Kennedy and Perry Marshall, all the best marketers. So
Me too. Me too. Thankfully so.
And you got to ask for that sale.
That's right. That's right.
When the time is right.
Yeah. No spam, right? That's good. So tell me about your kind of LinkedIn process. Give me like an amazing success story. Like, you've worked with so many people. Tell me about, somebody that took their LinkedIn profile from nothing to now it really being the driver in their business and what that looks like, what they did.
Yeah, a lot of it is sales teams, really kind of just having if you have 5 people on your sales team, you want their profiles to all look consistent.
Okay.
So if people come across your company, you don't have totally different. Obviously, your profile is your own personal profile, but you should have it with your company branding.
Right.
So it's a consistent look.
Okay.
And that same look is on your website. So like one woman I work with, she hadn't emailed her list in 3 years.
Okay. She I don't know why, but okay.
Right. So we optimized her LinkedIn profile. Then we started sending a few messages to people she'd already worked with. So instead of just blasting away, if you're trying to get some quick sales, reach out to people you've worked with in the past. And she had just gotten back into consulting, HR consulting. So we came up with like a Dean Jackson, 9-word email.
Yeah,
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I love Dean. He's a good friend.
So we kind of reactivated her network with a simple little question. And then she said, by the way, I'm back into consulting if you know anyone that needs any help with their HR department. So within 2 weeks, somebody reached out to her and says, hey, I need your help. She got a $60,000 contract.
What? That's fantastic.
And then 2 weeks later, she got a $40,000, and she just closed another $50,000 contract.
Wow.
Just by sending a couple of messages, simple little, hey, I'm back in consulting.
No kidding.
Need any help or know anyone that needs any help? But she reached out to people that she'd already worked with or knew them from different networking groups or associations. So they weren't cold outreaches.
So explain the 9-word email, and can you tell me roughly what hers was?
Yeah, gosh, I can't remember exactly, but
roughly.
Actually, it was right around the beginning of the year, and there's new laws in January that take effect for HR. And she's in Colorado, so there was she came up with 50 new laws businesses have to comply with in Colorado.
Mm.
So she started writing little articles about that. And she talked about something about the compliance. Are you ready for the new laws, compliance laws in Colorado? And that kind of oh crap. And then they went to her website and saw here's 50 things that should have been done by January 1st, and you are now out of compliance.
Yikes.
So it's kind of just getting them on that, back on the radar.
Yeah, so, for those listening, a 9-word email is, like you mentioned, Ted, a re-engagement campaign. For bestseller publishing, it might be something like, are you still interested in writing a best-selling book, right? Just something short like that. And so she did that regarding compliance, which is fantastic. That's a little fear-based, but appropriately so. And so who did she send that to? Did she send that, to 30, 40, 50 people a day that were hand-selected on her LinkedIn profile?
I think probably 30 people total.
30 people total? You're kidding. OMG.
She was in the industry for a long time, and then she was trying to do other stuff. Then she was getting back into it.
Yeah.
So she had a good reputation behind her.
And she's done 150,000 already this year in just the first couple of months or 6 weeks of the year. Imagine if she sent more emails.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. So one of my ones that I use, if I work with a client, usually I do I sell blocks of 5 or 10 hours at a time now for one-on-one.
Okay.
And when we're done, 3 to 6 months down the road, I'll send them a LinkedIn message. Are you still using LinkedIn to grow your business? And that reactivates about 10 to 15% of my clients.
Really? And they come back on and pay you for more coaching and consulting?
Because, they said, I got so busy because it was working, I stopped doing it. So it's a typical, generate business, and you have to do the work, and you don't keep the marketing going.
That's fantastic. The number of people that have a hard time with paid advertising is enormous. Paid advertising is tough to figure out. If you can figure out, it's a little like the Holy Grail, right? It's a little like if you can really get it working, it's like, putting $1 in the machine and 2 or 3 or 4 coming out. But there's always moving parts and challenges, and ads go bad and whatnot. And so most people are always going to struggle with that tremendously and never really get it working. And here is a system on LinkedIn where you don't ever have to spend $1 on advertising. And you can find your perfect ideal client, right, through Sales Navigator and through the search options in LinkedIn, and start a conversation with someone that you would never have an opportunity to start that conversation with. It's amazing that more people aren't doing this. What holds them back? I mean, what's the problem?
Well, sometimes they get too aggressive. They're not patient. You think you're like a farmer. You're planting seeds.
Yeah.
And the seeds will all grow at a different rate, and not all will become clients.
Right.
But people get, we're so impatient now. We get clients right now. I got to close 3 more deals this week.
Yeah.
So they don't take that time. Now, I'm not looking for 100 clients at a time. So my membership site, I'd like to get more people into it.
Yeah. Sure,
that's my low-end product. But like can you handle 100 more books this week?
Not this week. Give me a couple months.
Right.
But not
so you don't need to send 100 messages a day.
Right.
One thing that works really well, only 40% of people on LinkedIn log in more than once a month.
Wow. No kidding.
So 60% are employed or they're not looking for a job. They think it's a job site. So if you use Sales Navigator, you can see, search for your ideal client. Then it'll say, these are people that have posted in the last 30 days. So you go and see what they posted, and then you interact with that post if they look like it'd be a good fit for you. And they keep posting, you keep interacting. They're going to invite you to connect probably because you're liking and saying nice things about their content.
Yeah.
I don't even bother to reach out to them. I let them reach out to me because then it's a warmer lead.
So
I know that they've come to my profile.
That's a gold nugget right there. So just to be clear, in Sales Navigator, in the search function, you can search for your ideal client, whatever they are, coach, consultant, or whoever, C-suite.
Yeah.
And then there's a place where you can, like, how long since they last posted on LinkedIn?
It'll tell you how many changed jobs in the last 90 days, which is gold for a consultant, because a lot of times you change jobs, you want to bring in a consultant to help you make a good impression.
Okay.
Or it says, here's 32 people that have posted in the last 30 days, right at the top of the screen.
Nice.
And you click, you follow those people, and they don't know you're following them.
Right.
And you can view their profiles. They don't know you viewed their profiles on Sales Navigator.
That? I thought you can always see who viewed your profile.
In the regular LinkedIn, but not Sales Navigator.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
So you can actually stalk people.
And they don't know.
But then you see if you're posting content, that's when you jump on there, interact with their content. Don't just say, great post, Joe. Say to them, actually read their article and ask them questions about the article. So ask, kind of like the Dean Jackson. You want a response from them. So entice that.
Hot potato, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then after you go back and forth,
back.
2 or 3 times back and forth, they'll say, hey, I want to connect with Ted. He seems to know what he's doing. And plus they're seeing my professional headline every time I comment on there.
Right.
So get your profile in order first using that direct marketing approach, and then just interact with people that are already there and then reach out to former clients or friends of friends.
Beautiful. Love it. That's some good goal right there for people. I mean, I bet people could just take a couple of these things and start making money with it immediately by just doing some organic searching and outreaching on LinkedIn and on Sales Navigator. Just like, 30 messages she sends out, she makes $150,000. That's incredible. So you do coaching. It doesn't sound like at the moment you're doing much in the way of actual done for you, but it sounds like there's going to be an element of that, which you and I might need to have another conversation soon because I want to hear about that. Where's the best place for people to learn about what you offer, what you do, and how they can reach you?
This is a really hard one.
Yeah.
YourLinkedInCoach.com.
YourLinkedInCoach.com. I love it. Can you use LinkedIn in your URL and it's not a problem?
They haven't come after me yet.
I guess not. Okay. I guess not. That's good. And you mentioned a membership site. Do you want to tell us where that is and, how someone can maybe get your content and materials?
Yeah, I started it actually. I did a LinkedIn course called Linked Accelerator. You do the normal 6 weeks and you do the calls and then everybody goes away. Yeah. And they didn't implement it. So I started doing monthly calls to follow up. So I added that to part of the course. And then I realized most of my clients are like over 50. They've been through the ringer with me career-wise, up and down, and they're all in my community. So I started Freedom Accelerator Academy.
Okay.
And it's basically, we do a call every Thursday now since the pandemic, where I bring in experts. You can be an expert guest. I'd love to have you as a guest.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And they're teaching people how to really grow their business when they've transitioned from a successful corporate career into being a solopreneur.
Yeah.
And we just meet, we have a Facebook group, and it's just a great way. Everybody really is contributing a lot. I'm really having a lot of fun with that.
And so is that freedomaccelerator.com or where do they find that?
freedomaccelerator.academy.
freedomaccelerator.academy. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the place to find Ted. I would check both of those out. Your LinkedIn coach, that's an easy one. How do you forget that? It's like that's now burned into my brain. I'm not going to forget that. And obviously, I would love to connect further and speak to your group. I think that would be a lot of fun. There's quite a bit of my own failures and history, and then using books to accelerate and blow up my business at the suggestion of the one and only Dan Kennedy. He's the one that suggested I write my first book back in 2007. So, a lot of history there, Ted. So
when did you write the first book after he told you in 2007?
I started in 2008 and I finished in late 2009.
Okay. It took me 3 years to write my book. When Perry told me I had to write a Twitter book when I went to his house for one of his intensives.
You know, it's doggone hard to write a book. And, first year after me writing my book was 2009. You know what was happening in 2009. Stock market was down like 55%. Real estate was crushed, And my business went from zero, brand new business, zero to over $1 million in the first year, all because of my book, and then exploded to multi-millions thereafter. And that's not my current business. This business was an adjunct business that came because of my other business. And so, I always look back and I talk about my $1 million mistake. If I'd have written my book a year earlier, I'd made another $1 million.
Right. Exactly.
I should have got started sooner.
Nope. The universe has to align perfectly.
I guess so. Well, I'm glad the universe aligned and brought us together. And thank you again for being on the show. We'll make sure that we let folks know about you because, man, I'm a big fan of what you're doing. I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, and you are the man that wrote the book on it. So, Ted, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me.